Hey, to stand for the invocation, huh? Oh. Blowed you.
God, our Creator, we ask you to shine your light upon our city in the new year, guiding our path and the path of the council and all the city workers, that they do the best and the highest good for our city. We ask you to bless our city, and we ask you to bless our country. For this we are thankful. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Sal.
Mayor Del Massad,
Here.
Vice Mayor Terrence Rowe,
Here.
Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell. Let the record show that Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell is not present tonight. Councilman William Dittmer.
Here.
Councilman Richard Bloom.
Here.
City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager Vincent Lupo.
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we got general public. Blaine Lee.
Blaine Lee, 5713 Berlin. Sal's passing out a sheet that I'll wait till he gets it passed out. Basically, what I'm here to discuss is my water bill for the last 3 months. I understand that October was the last bill that had the correct readings, and then November was estimated because they couldn't get readings off the meters, and then December you have your current readings again. Now, as you can see from my bill there, October was for 4,000 gallons. November was for 4,000 gallons, and December was for 8,000 gallons. If you take the October current reading and the December current reading and subtract the difference, it's 12,000 gallons. I'm billed for 16,000 gallons. Something's wrong in the, you know, that's approximately
Let me
$57.59 in my
too.
out of my pocket.
One of the people on my lot rider left might want to. Good,
The issue, Mr. Lee, that you're bringing up is an odyssey that began back in July. And that is when we attempted to move from a metered system to a system called Census, that automatically reads those meters instead of having individuals go out and read them. There was a confluence of 3 different events that we believe caused this issue. I can assure you and every citizen here that we are going over these water bills, that there will be no shutoffs, there will be no late charges, and that in fact, when we look at these bills, if there are credits, they'll be distributed. Part of the issue is the the move to what is called the cloud. It was a computer move, and part of the reading mechanisms and the logarithms that were used evidently were improper. The confluence of our server crashing which caused us to go from a hard-based system to a cloud system called, through the census operation, so that that information would have always been available in the cloud and not on a hard base. So the transfer of that information, as everyone knows who opens a new cell phone or opens a new computer, occasionally when they bring up a new system, there's a problem. We have been working with Black Mountain, we have the software people, we have been working with the census people, we have meetings scheduled even tomorrow to resolve these issues. And they're troublesome. They're seriously, this came out at the worst possible time. It was the holiday season. We recognize that. When everyone is already stressed, when everyone already has financial issues, and these bills came and they upset a lot of people. But one of the things we've discovered in going through these bills, and we're going through every single one of them, is that of the approximate 2,500 customers that we have, the percentage of these errors is approximately 2%. We're going over the numbers, we're adjusting them, and I wish to assure every individual, every customer, that if they believe they have a problem with their bills, if we may determine it on our own, but if they have a problem with their bill, please call us. We will log you in, we will pull your bills, and we will check your bills for you. If there is a problem, we will make that correction is necessary. There's issues with respect to a larger bill, moving you to a different tier, we'll make the tier adjustments. If there's a problem with a supposed number for sewage that doesn't take place, we'll make that correction. So that's the only assurance I can give you, is that we will resolve the issue. The issue was we attempted to move from an older system to a newer system, and in that transition, unfortunately, part of the logarithms involved are incorrect. And given your background, you can understand that. We sincerely apologize for this. We have taken our contractors to task, and in fact, they will be paying for the next series of bills that are be going out, including the mailing and the postage and the rest of it. But that doesn't assuage customer concern or reliability. We will make it right.
Shortly after I received my December bill, I came down to Town Hall and questioned it, and the person at the window told me it was correct, and that's what I owed.
Mr. Lee, all I can do is apologize to you, sir. I have received that kind of information. I have instructed my staff, and I've instructed people talking to our citizens. They must understand that those customers are upset, that those customers have legitimate concerns, and they must be treated with all of the respect due them as citizens and customers of our utilities. I assure you, sir, that you will be as satisfied as possible when this issue is corrected, along with every other individual customer in this city.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lane, you're probably due 4,000 gallons, so make a place where you want us to put it. Pastor Jerry Heckheis.
Thank you. Pastor Jerry Heckheis from Good News Christian Fellowship offices at 9215 Little Road. I'm here to share three things with you. First of all is to thank you. We were the recipients. I worked with Pastor Leonard Lord in coordinating Somebody Cares Pasco. We were recipients of gifts that you collected, a ton of gifts that you collected, distributed to us. We held a service on Christmas Eve where several congregations were represented, and we got people from those congregations who knew where needy families resided and children who still were in need of Christmas gifts. We were able to distribute about half of them that night. The other half we distributed to the ACT Center on Christmas Day. The ACT Center is a homeless and at risk for homeless resource center where they fed over 300 people on Christmas Day. And they were able to distribute those gifts then to children and to families who had an immediate need. And it was just a blessing. So thank you for considering us worthy. I suspect you'll be getting some pictures in the future. I know Leonard's working on that. Second is a story of I'd like to share that might be illustrative for decisions that you have to make in the future. When I was pastoring Good News Christian Fellowship in the early days, we met at a civic center. And when I would enter into that civic center on a Sunday morning, I would immediately know what kind of party took place at the civic center the night before. The parties with alcohol greeted me with cups and papers and bottles immediately as I opened the gates. When I opened the doors, our foot stuck to the floors. Everything was sticky. And would you believe when we went to the bathroom, for some reason, alcohol lowers the odds of a guy hitting the toilet. And not to say that was the least of the problems, the carpet, we had great carpet with color of every cake that was at every party with alcohol because it was ground in. We'd also hear stories of what happened at that civic center the night before. We'd wonder what happened here, and we'd hear stories of arguments and fights and so on. That all goes to say, hopefully it's an illustration, as Leonard and other pastors and I have prayed together, we would just counsel you when it comes to our parks. We have a heart for Waterfront Park, where we've held many events for families, where we've cleaned up and helped maintain. I hope it was a blessing to you. We just encourage you when it comes to that park, that wisdom would be to not have alcohol there. It may invite the kind of atmosphere that you really don't want. It may have all kinds of costs that you really don't want. And it would just be best for everyone that alcohol wasn't there. Thirdly, I'll make it real quick. Pastor Leonard and the Congregation of Light of the World is hosting an appreciation dinner this Wednesday. And I believe City Manager Lupo, you have the detailed information for
Yes,
that?
it's actually it's we're talking about Sunday at 12:30 at Columbia.
Yes.
There'll be no charge. I'll be getting the information that Pastor Lord requires from our council for the representation there.
It won't violate any campaign finance regulations, I'm sure, but it will be a good meal. And we thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. At the December 11th City Council meeting, it was announced that there was recently a drug and prostitution raid by city police at 5934 Lantern Court. I drove by there on the way home. I was shocked. I kind of know these people and they seem so nice. I told my wife, my daughter, and my neighbor about the raid. They found it hard to believe that a nice family like that would engage in such activity. Well, they didn't. I was given the wrong house number. The raid took place at 5943, not 5934. I was embarrassed. Seeing how nice the grass and weeds are growing on the dredged material at the corner of Grand and River Gulf, I would like to be the first resident to ask for a delivery or two of the dredged material. Hopefully, Washington Street and Orange Grove Avenue will be repaved at the same time soon. It would seem foolish to break out the paving crew and the equipment twice. I have not yet received the list of public easements in the city that I am not allowed on by Tom O'Neill. I hope the city manager will provide me with a list of the public easements that the public is not allowed on before a resident gets arrested for walking on one of the banned public easements, such as the one behind 7447 Candlelight Court. And by the way, are we going to have a newspaper and cardboard recycling dumpster at City Hall in the future? And finally, my December water bill was double the normal water bill. I've been assured by a city employee that my January bill will be small. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Vitoroso.
Joe Vittorioso, 4916 Shoreview Court, Harbor Isles. Been here 40 years. This is my first complaint. Anyway, what we have is trash pickup by Waste Services and also J.D. Parker. J.D. Parker probably has in the subdivision that I live in maybe 5 or 6 homes. The rest are Waste Service. Anyway, J.D. Parker comes in at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:10 at the latest, twice a week. The windows are open, my neighbors are complaining. I could have had a list of them come down here, but they said, just you know, see what's going on with it. Anyway, I called Parker myself and asked him if, since we're just a few people in this neighborhood, could he make us last rather than first?
Sure.
They said, we will look into it, and that was 2 months ago. Anyway, you know, these people have to make a living, obviously, but they don't have to come into a dead quiet neighborhood at 2 in the morning, and it's quite loud. So if you guys can do something with that, you know, the neighborhood would really appreciate it. Now, I understand that they stopped them from coming in that early in Newport Richie. They changed some type of ordinance over there, and I'm hoping that maybe we can do the same. Otherwise, we could have people cutting lawns at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's really all my complaint is, and I'm hoping that you can do something about it. I've done what I can.
We'll certainly look into it and get back with you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Quite well.
Joe, thank you. You guys don't give us any complaints, real good.
No, it's a great neighborhood. No
Thank you.
complaints, I live that one. Thank you.
Claudia Smith.
Claudia Smith, 7335 Candlelight Court. As you are aware or not aware, the Citizens Advisory Committee has met for the first time, and we have a couple of our members that have come up with some good ideas of things that we would like to do. A couple of things. We want to have a Founders Day in May. We're going to be putting something together in writing to present to the council in the next probably 30 days, 45 days for your consideration. We would like to have a outdoor library. We had several locations that were mentioned. We haven't really finalized that. We're going to be having another meeting next Thursday week. And we hope to be able to get a little bit more information together for that, where we can also present that to you. We would like to, we want the citizens to know about us, and we think that the way to do that is for them to see us. So what we would like to do on the 19th of January is we would like to go into Waterfront Park, and we would like to clean it up, pick up trash, whatever we have to do. I met with Jocelyn earlier today and Sal, and they're gonna do some checking on information of what we can and can't do, having the utility company pick up the bags, blah, blah, blah. But that's one of the things we'd like to do, where people can see us. And also, in addition to that, CAC has an email address that citizens can email us with any concerns, anything they may want us to talk about at our meetings. And we will get that out there in various ways: water bill, the letter, the newsletter, the Port Richey website, and then I'm also going to be giving that to our members where they can get it out to their neighbors, their friends. We hope that that will travel around, and we'll start hearing from the citizens. We're really excited. We're working on a mission statement. I think probably our #1 mission will be to get involvement with the citizens. Have them come to the meetings, not for just complaints. Have them participate and help with any kind of activity. And that's one thing we want to do. We want to take some of that burden off of the city and let us plan an event or work with the city employees to get something done. we're really excited. We hope you are too. We didn't come together to be negative. We came together to be positive. We all live in Port Richey, and we want to have our citizens participate and enjoy living here. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. And I've tortured Chet. He doesn't come, so I put him last. Chet Jasic.
Chet Jasic, 5134 Miller Bayou Drive. Number one, I got here about 6:45 because the website says 7 o'clock for the meeting. So we got to fix the website so you got the right time for the meetings. If I came more often, I probably would have known it was 7:30. Secondly, I heard Mr. Lupo about the water bills. I understand everything you said. I just want to make a special, I went to the people at the desk also. My irrigation water, I very seldom use. I always have a minimum bill of $17.35, except back in June and July to put a new lawn in, and I did use 10,000, 11,000 gallons June and July. Well, my bill this time, which is normally $17.35 for 1,000 gallons minimum, this one was for 11,000 gallons for $115. And I did say there's no way I could possibly use that water that much because I never use it. And they said it was correct, and I heard what you said. So I want to make special attention. Do I need to go back to the water department again to put it in front of their face, or?
No, sir. All you simply have to do, in fact, we've already taken the information, we've heard your information. As we will do with all the others, we'll review your account and we'll make the adjustments as necessary on both sides of the equation.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I apologize. We apologize for that error.
Well, we should have had some kind of a notice that something was wrong versus waiting for the bills to come out.
Mr. Jasic, the truth of the matter is, because of the 3 consecutive events, not until that billing went out did we truly become aware of the difference, because there was a vast majority of bills that went out that were proper. So it's the occasional individual that popped up that got by the system. I assure you that we'll make it right for every single customer and citizen.
You said
in the
only
city.
2% were in error, so I'm definitely one of the 2%.
And it's not the lottery, unfortunately.
Thank you, Chet. Matt, did you want to talk to this?
8301 Congress, Matthew Todd. I am here to complain. First off, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Ditmore. Thank you, Councilman Dr. Bloom, Terry Rowe, and the mayor. I think you guys have done an outstanding job. I think you're the best people that's ever sat up there. And I can't thank you enough, Mr. Mayor, for helping me do some projects to help the residents that you took money out of your own pocket to do.
Thank you.
In the light of things, there's some things that's been brewing that, how to put it into terms at a council meeting in the right way, I don't know how to say it where it doesn't offend anybody, but all I can say is there's some games that's being played behind your back. Our police chief dealt with some of them himself and was set up basically by the previous administration that he did this and did that, and it was proven that he didn't as well. And he's one of the best police chiefs that we ever had. There's some facts that have came to light. And as one of the residents that voted for every single one of you sitting up there, some changes need to be made, and they need to be made quickly. Because there's a lot of residents that's very, very upset about what's going on. There's one previous council member that's actually trying to do a smear campaign against every single one of you. And I think you all have a general idea who it is. This city needs to work together and move forward. Now, as far as getting to city of Port Richey, when you start going out and you're talking to residents, where do you live? I say, I live in Port Richey. I'm proud where I live. But when you hear people talk about Port Richey, it's basically a cesspool, a dump. They drive down the road where I live at, trash is thrown all up and down the road. Having minimum housing standards, and I want to thank Councilman Bloom for pushing that forward and some of them to that aspect. We needed minimum housing standards. I don't need to be coming up here as a resident paying my taxes to complain about picking trash up or what have you. In all due respects, this ain't to knock you. Mr. City Manager, but here's the thing is, not one resident should have to come up here and complain that there's trash on the street and somebody needs to pick it up, okay? The other thing is, there's businesses here. We need to be pro-business and help these businesses to generate income. There's one trying to build a marina. We need to help them. They want to stop the hike and bike trail. The people in Candlelight, Orange Grove, they need the paving. They need the paving done. Other people need dredging done. You guys, I know you're trying to make it for, stop letting excuses and make it happen. There should be no excuses. And if something ain't being done, then I think you need to clean house, and I think you know who needs to be cleaned out here, and then bring in new and start all over. And you know what I'm saying is coming from a large amount of group of people. You all know this. So I'd very much appreciate it, because my tax dollars, my wife will yield her time to me. So, but make a long story short, it comes down to it. There's a multi-million-dollar offer on one of my pieces of property. Builders came to me, 3 builders. And you know what they said? They don't want to deal with Port Richey because of the shenanigans that they go through, okay? Of this episode, every time there's some kind of little episode, they told me if I annexed my property out of the city, I'm looking at $4 million if I annex my piece of property out of the city of Port Richey. Now, what would you do? Because the builders don't want to deal with Port Richey and some of the shenanigans. And that's not you council members, and I'm not saying it's the city manager, okay? I kind of know where it's coming from. I'm not saying it's the city manager. I think his hands are tied to a certain extent. I do know where it's coming from, and you all are soon going to find out as well. So we need to make changes and move this city forward. There's no reason people ain't getting paving. These poor people at Candlelight and Orange Grove, they've been getting excuse after excuse. We made a promise to help RDG out at Sand Pebble with the dredging and move the rocks. What has happened? Nothing has happened. I told the man I'd give him my word it's going to be done. Well, if something ain't done, I'm going to go do it, and I'll ask for forgiveness later, because I give somebody my word. I'm a man of my word.
No, you are.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for your time. In my opinion, you council members and mayor, yous deserve a raise for what yous have done. Yous need a raise. And if I got taken out of my own pocket, I would do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak? Okay. Request from Chasco Steering Committee. Ms. Durham.
Went by, Mayor, you went by.
What, did I miss one?
City manager and
Oh,
and
heck,
council.
I did, I missed a bunch of them. My zeal for getting out of here.
Mayor and council and citizens, in your book, you have a report from each of the various departments concerning what their activities have been, along with what should be a rather great report about our water production, but is sullied by the unfortunate billing errors. I would like you to know that during fiscal year 2018, if you look at that green chart, our annual purchase was less than $10,000 for the entire year, versus what it was back in 2015 at close to $450,000. Aside from that report, there are reports from all of the different department heads and departments that you were going to receive on a monthly basis. But after hearing during the last council, 2 council meetings from Vice Mayor Rowe and from the other council people, what I have devised and what I will be presenting to council each and every week is a complete detailed report from the administrative section of our operation. You will have a weekly report about the various activities that are undertaken in the city manager's office and by city manager's staff. So that should begin to ensure that you are fully informed on activities that don't fully rise to the surface and that you can, in fact, interject yourself at any point in time during those activities. I think it's absolutely essential that the legislative body, that our city council, has the information with which they can make rational decisions that affect this community. And I promise you that you will have that report on a weekly basis, and you can certainly ask questions to me directly after you receive that report, and we can sit and discuss any single issue individually, and then, if necessary, bring it to council for council's review and comment. Along with that, there are several other issues that are extremely important that we'll be talking about, including issues for candlelight, including our interlocal agreement and some other issues that we worked very hard to achieve. As you came in, you may have noticed, or I did email you a photo of our new brush truck that's finally here, that you were gracious enough to allow us to purchase through the last budget cycle. There are two brand new police vehicles out there that are being completely decorated for use. So we're moving forward in that direction. With respect to some of the other issues that are coming before us, we as an administrative staff will handle these problems to the best of our ability and hopefully relieve some of the misgivings that have evolved. As far as the direction of the city, you determine that direction and I follow your course. You can't do that unless I provide you the information that you need, and I assure you that you will be receiving that on a weekly basis. Mr. Mayor?
Yours? Okay, bring it up to council. Do I have any thoughts, prospects? Do I? I always have something to say. I do applaud you, Mr. Lupo. Transparency is becoming something that...
I want to echo that as well. Before you get started, I think that's a great idea that we hear about what is taking place behind the doors, behind the scenes, so when businesses may come in here and maybe want to develop something, and we're in the past, I don't think we've ever been made aware of that, and now I think that movement is to change that, and that transparency, I think, is important, and I know my colleague here shares that same feeling.
On a different note, I'm going over the reports that we've been getting from everybody, and once again, I just had a question for the chief on noise complaints. If we are logging where these are coming from, it would be good. And also on the alarms, do we break those down into what are just false alarms or set off by residents, or do we know how these alarm calls, if they're active?
We didn't break them down, but we can
Okay.
break them down. Sure.
Right.
Actually, of the 14 noise complaints that we had, only one of them was from a business. The rest of them were for residents. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I said that years ago. You should know if it's one person calling it 100 times or 100 people.
No, we have a habitual offender here that
Okay.
we've dealt with them, but the majority of the noise complaints came from residents, not businesses.
All right, thanks, chief. You're welcome.
Yeah, I think we need one more number on this. You have generated service calls, 1,187. Sounds like a huge number of calls into the police. And I'm not saying it's not, but the ones that are actively moved on or responded to or generated some kind of police activity, if you can add that number up, and then the difference would be somebody calling and no action taken.
Right,
They dialed the police.
Yes.
And said, wrong number. Something to that effect.
Sure. Not every call that we go
You
to.
you didn't act on 1,187 calls here. Your department didn't do that.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh, yeah.
Well, these other numbers that are listed out here, theft, traffic crashes, impounds, et cetera, they don't add up to 1,187 calls.
Not every call we go on do we generate a complaint report for.
Well, that's what I'm.
Right, so you want,
that's the point.
I know what you want, okay, okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't understand the answer.
He'll break it out for him.
You Dale, you know what that.
Yeah, almost by heart, but I left it home. Is he answering any questions?
Yeah, he's done.
What is the position you got?
He's done talking.
Oh, are you done talking?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So did you say you do act on all of these 1,187 calls?
Not every call that we go on requires a report being made. If you got a barking dog and it's not found, it won't show up. It's not gonna require a report. But these are active, these are calls for service. Now, some of them are generated by the officer, or somebody walks up to them. These are not all dispatched calls, but these are calls, these are service calls.
Okay, so 1,187 service calls.
Yep.
But when you add this up, it's something like 400 and.
Right, those are the ones that required a complaint report or further action. Some of the other ones that don't require anything else, we didn't, those wouldn't be listed
So
on.
if it's not reported, it's not.
It's not.
Part
right.
of this. Okay,
Correct.
I got that. Now, the impounds, what prompts an impound?
If you're driving with a suspended license and you are pulled over and cited for that, you can't drive the car out of there. If you're driving a car without insurance, it can't be on the road, so we're not gonna let you drive away with the car. Drugs in the car, any criminal activity in the car, that's when the car will be taken from you.
Okay, so it doesn't look like Walmart's quite as bad as they have been.
No, it's coming down, but it's still 94, that's 94 calls a month, so it's about 100 calls a month.
I just happen to drive around and talk to people all the time, Chief. And please don't take any offense to these things, but one of the gentlemen I saw, and I thought he probably was homeless, but I talked to him. He was arrested for possession of a milk crate.
There's a statute for that. There's a
You have to
statute
look up
for,
a long step at night to find that one?
there's a statute for possession of a milk crate.
Wow.
Yes, there is.
Dear God.
Yep,
So beware.
beware.
Milk crate.
Don't walk around with your milk crate.
Okay, any other thoughts?
Well, on a lighter note, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone. These water bills are disturbing.
Absolutely.
I would like to see some type of a summary report posted on our website so people will see exactly what the turnout was of the research that you are doing. Because I tell you, it wasn't 2% by my book. I had 100% of dissatisfaction of the people who called me, and I got caught at the county. I got caught in New York on the phone, and I got caught myself with a double bill this time. So I wasn't any happier than the rest of you. And I promise you that we will get to the bottom of this, as Mr. Lupo said. One other thing I want to mention is Chris Hughes told me about something that he came up with to alleviate some of the flooding down in the area of Old Post and Bay. Now, I've had water up into my yard, and it is terrifying when you see it coming up and there's nothing you can do. But there's homes on Bay Boulevard that have been inundated with that water time and time and time again till they were wanting to move but fear that their house won't sell because of the flooding. Well, Chris came up with an idea that cannot hurt I expect it's going to help. Don't think it'll alleviate all the flooding, but I had made a statement up here some months ago that if we get a pump or something, it would just take some of that water away so it would keep it from running into those people's homes. That would be a victory in itself, and we can work on that. Well, Chris, congratulations. You came up with an idea. I am looking to have that implemented as soon as we possibly can. This idea is to run a pipe underground from a swale across the street on Old Post into the channel. Now, there's 2 connections from what you told me already, but that's not enough to move that water fast enough when the rain is coming down from up on along 19 and Ridge and that area. So I commend Chris for thinking a little out of the box on this one. He came up with this because it is somewhat of a pooling effect there, and it's very hard to do anything about it. But with some thinking, he came up with this idea, and I think that will definitely help. And I'm praying that it'll alleviate some of the flooding that goes into those homes. And this year, New Year's coming up, I like to talk about goals. My training, I was always told, New Year, let's look at goals. Those goals should be achieved. They are something we need. The first is dredging. We went all last year. I know there were tie-ups, but I want a shovel in the ground, and I want it in the ground the first quarter of this year. I would also like to see the north end of the hike and bike trail connected into the park before the middle of the year. It's low-hanging fruit. There should be nothing stopping us on that end. The bridge is a whole nother thing, and tonight you'll see we're working on that as well, so we can connect to the east side of the city under the bridge. And I know we're working on this already, but I hope to complete the commercial standards that we had talked about last year. So with that, I hope for a successful and a very progressive new year. And thanks again, Chris. If there's anything else you can come up with, Mr. Muse has given me some ideas on moving the city forward as well, so I want to commend him on his thoughts. We need to move forward. Last year, it just seemed like we were kind of stagnated for a while, even though I know we were making efforts in a positive direction. It just didn't prove to show much in the way of results. So let's hope this year, within the first 6 months, we can show people we're moving forward again. Thank you.
Frankly, Terry, I think, given government, we went a long way. And I want to thank Chris as well, and I've chastised the employees in the past, and what we need is employees who think as well, not just do the job, think, and thank you. And that's why you got the first mayor award that cost 6 hours of the attorney's work to make sure I wasn't bribing you. The other thing I wanted to tell the public, I've sent it to the council. If you Google glowing bike trails or something of that sort, you find this asphalt mixture or something, and it would look great on the hike and bike trail through the Waterfront Overlay District. I can't find any costs, so if anybody comes up with that, please call me. And that is about all I have. Oh, yes, I know you did.
It's very exciting. I've completed the decennial review, the 10-year review of the code with Muni Code. So absent any contrary advice from the council, they said 6 weeks, but Muni Code, believe me, that'll probably be 8 or 9. But the proofs, you're going to get, I'm going to bring an ordinance, repealing the regular code and the land development code and adopting 2 new ones. We only pay for 2 hard copies. The proofs are 634 pages, but from the font and everything, what'll appear, the actual hard copies will be a little over 900 pages, 950 pages or so. I'm gonna give that to you on a thumb drive, and we'll send it to you by email. You want the thumb drive? Vince and I talked about it. You wanna see? We don't get the hard copies till we pass it, but I have the proofs. They're all just technical things. I'll bring them here, so when they're here, okay?
Is it a good read?
Oh, it's very exciting. I've been doing a few chapters. It's about, if you're wondering, the most exciting thing about it is chapters 1 through 20 or 25 or so are in the regular code, and the same numbers are used in the land development code. Okay, so we've changed that numbering system, so these start at 100. And number one is sometimes, residents look up something and they read it and it says in the code and they're looking in the other section and that. But more importantly, when we store information now, I look at Jocelyn because she's and the clerk that, as we store things and there's something older we have to look up, and we start looking up a code section to try and bring up that ordinance or something, we get both of them. So as for going forward, everything's being saved in the cloud now. So, and just one or two minor things I'll go over. So when I get it, I'll send it to you a week in advance. You have any interesting questions? These are all the references at the bottom, okay? But the biggest thing, I'm changing the numbers. Okay. And a few other things.
The thumb
but
drive.
nothing substantive, really.
Will that take the place of going to meaningcode.com?
No. I'm just sending it to you because I'm telling you, you're not going to get 900-page thick agenda.
Okay.
We'll post it on the website. Okay, I'm going to give you an email and a thumb drive. It's going to come with your book as opposed to 900 pages. Unless you want that, we can
I'm good.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Mayor, if I might, in view of the comments made by the Vice Mayor and at your request, I'd like to make public an email that I sent to all of council so that the general public can hear it. And again, this was at your request, Mayor, for this information, but I've added some absolutely fantastic information. And that is, as per your request, I am sending you the following information: the most recent FDEP permit documents, the most recent Corps of Engineers permit documents, the email correspondence with FDEP regarding disposal of dredge spoils material, the email correspondence with Pasco County regarding the transmittal of dredging bid documents, email correspondence with Dewberry regarding the transmittal of dredging bid documents. What all of this simply means is that we finally have transmitted all of the information necessary to comply with the dredgings for channels 1, 18, and 26A in accordance with the requirements of the Restore Act. The county is now reviewing those documents, and they are bid documents. That as soon as they approve those documents, we will be out to bid for dredging of those canals.
Hear, hear. We made it. Thank you.
It is a significant turn of events that this council and the citizens have been looking forward to for a very long time. There's been caught up in monumental bureaucratic requirements that we have finally managed to get through. And I would like to thank this council for their patience and forbearance with respect to weaving our way through the various requirements placed upon this community to get the job done. And with respect to some of that, it has to go to a comment that I believe Mr. Brown made with respect to the spoils site. Within this document, it clearly dictates, all of these documents, what we can and cannot do with those spoils. So let's make it abundantly clear that those spoils must, by document, agreement, sent to a very specific site and cannot be used by anyone else for fertilizer, for fill, or for any other issues. Some of that material is contaminated, to a lesser degree than many, many other spoil sites, but it still is. And therefore, the government has placed certain requirements on us. We will handle it. But the issue is, we will be dredging, hopefully, we'll be out to bids very, very shortly, as soon as the county approves, and we'll go from there, Mr. Vice Mayor.
And I can assure you that Mr. Mariano and Wells will be pushing this. They've been very helpful to us. As to contamination of the spoils, is contaminated here, we take it out, but we can't put it anywhere else. It's still here, unless you can.
Not yet.
Okay. Any other thing, Mr. Brown?
Nope, we're done.
Okay.
Consent
Now,
agenda.
and
Consent
did
agenda.
we catch up with me?
Consent agenda.
Yes. I need a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we have Ms. Durham. You caught a redfish by your house.
You did? Was it big?
That was slot.
Awesome. Anyway, Patty Dermer, 8625 Sea Point Court. On a off matter of the Chasco Fiesta, I too had a utility bill problem on 3 of my accounts. But anyway, so back to the Chasco Fiesta. I am here again to request from the city sponsorship for the Chasco Fiesta. I won't go back into the details again and again.
Okay.
But we would respectfully like your consideration for the sponsorship.
Do I have any motions to?
Well, we discussed this,
monies?
and Mr. Lupo was going to check into the budget in the miscellaneous category to see, you know, if there were funds available for the sponsorship, and I don't know where you are with that.
There are limited funds available, very small amount, approximately $1,000, that can be utilized if council so deems. From the general fund, approximately $1,000 if necessary.
Okay.
You know, that shows you how good at accounting we are. $14 million, and we have to slide
Well,
1,000 out on the side.
Just to point out, our bronze sponsorship level is $1,500. And our tent it's not a sponsorship, but we do rent out the tent for $1,000 in the park, which you guys could still come down and maybe do a 50-50 raffle or something like that to try to raise funds for the police boat or whatever you need to raise money for the city for.
Anybody feel like
But
being in a
$1,500 gets you a little bit more.
1,500 gets
Some concert
anybody going to be in
tickets.
the
and-
tent.
We also went through this last time as that this is a non-budgeted item.
I
And
understand.
we would have to, and I agree that we can look forward to next year also putting in something that promotes Pasco and Port Richey and the Chatsco Festival.
If I heard Mr. Lupo correct, you have a $440,000 surplus on your water purchases.
That's not quite accurate, no.
There you go.
So, I mean, maybe we can get the extra 500, is my point, maybe.
The utility money is a utility fund and is earmarked by law, can only be used for utility issues, by law.
Okay.
He can dance with the best of them.
Maybe we could get a reduction in our water bills then.
That may be coming to council this coming budget cycle. Yes, ma'am. It may be coming to council.
Awesome.
Would anybody in the city want to be in the tent down there? I mean, is there something we could accomplish?
Well, maybe
I'll
each
donate.
department would like to send somebody down for a day. I mean, it's 9 days. Each department could send somebody down and promote, like, you know, job opportunities in the city, or just an idea.
No.
Volunteers, or the blonde lady, the CAC people, maybe?
Claudia Smith.
Well,
I mean, that's kind of what they're trying to do.
the Waterfront Overlay District businesses, are they doing their own?
Yeah, we have already got sponsorships from Hooters and from Whiskey
okay.
Joe's.
So they're
and-
doing their advertising.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
anyway,
I went once to Chasco and
you look like you would have a really good time.
cannot go down there again, unless you got a helicopter
You can be
there.
my personal guest.
No, I'm claustrophobic. If the city does want to do that tent, I would donate $500 to compliment. If not, then you're stuck.
I'll make a motion to contribute the 1,000 then.
Okay, do I have a second? Motion and a second.
I'll second.
Anybody jumping up and down to get in a tent? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank
dear.
you so
Wish we
much.
could do
I
more.
appreciate it. I'll email you the information.
Next year we'll
You can catch us next
get
year.
some.
No, definitely. I'll be back in May.
Yeah, before let's put an item in.
Tell
before
Gary
that,
hello for him.
for city promotions. Vince,
Okay, we're at the interlocal agreement.
excuse me, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Vince, I was gonna say, we can put a line item in for the next budget for promotions for the
We
for the
certainly will
city.
bring it to council for council's consideration.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Matthew, do you want to take some of this?
We're up number 4, interlocal agreement regarding Cody River.
Mhm.
Okay, well, yeah, before you, let me see, it's in what order? The task order is here, but the interlocal agreement is here. It's approved by the county already. They've looked at it. It's 1/3, I can give you the number. Our exposure is up to 15. The amount is, 1/3, it's about 1/3 of 31, let me see. $10,586.34. This for this study. We pay a third, county pays a third, and Newport Ritchie runs a third.
And
Really?
anything in this that you?
No, I went through it. My only comment was at first, if you're curious, when it came in, it was, we pay 1/3, county makes all the decisions. If it comes back more, we still pay 1/3 of that. They make the decision, so it could have come back for 500,000 in the second reading if they run into it. Our authority was just 15. I said, look, you put a cap on that, otherwise you're gonna, I'm gonna advise council that 1/3 open agreement on any number.
Right.
It's not gonna have my recommendation, and they came back, put the cap on 15. Apparently
Our
they
total
see it.
exposure is 15.
Total exposure is 15. They can come back, let's say it's more, let's say they need another 50 grand to do something, they just have to come back and ask, as opposed to automatic. So Newport Ritchie's 7 times bigger than us, the county's about 1,000 times bigger than us.
Yeah, and I don't care
50,000
what
more,
they
and
say
they
about
wouldn't
it.
blink an eye at that, those kind of numbers, but it's ready to go, it's looking for your vote. If you have any questions, the
okay.
rest of it's pretty generic.
Jim, I don't care what they say about you, you're a damn good attorney. And then just for the publics, the format and guidelines, 17 manuals and guidelines that they have to go through to do this. So certainly takes a lot more money and BS. A motion and a second?
Motion to approve the interlocal agreement regarding the Cody River US 19 trail.
Second.
Second for discussion.
Okay.
I joined Mr. Mathau in my reading of this, set me back because we're paying a third, but we are basically not getting a third of the input. As I read through this, it gives the county basically total control over this, and that bothers me, because it's our project. And the county is going to have the complete say. They go back and mention the city several times, but it doesn't sound like we're gonna have much clout to make any changes. It keeps going back to the county, the county, the county. So that's why I'm dubious about the language in this. I would like to see a little more participation, especially from the city of Port Ritchie in this, if we have things that we'd like changed. And I would like to hear from Mr. Muse on this, because if anybody knows about this project, it's him.
Well, I'll interject. Bill and I went down there, and his idea of the route for this would be to go between Catch's docks and their landing, which would be the greatest thing ever. And he knows he can do it. And so if the Catches group are listening, it'll make their businesses better, and it'll certainly make the bike trail better. Go ahead, Ms. Mead.
That, I'm not sure what your question was. Could you repeat it? I apologize. What you need me to answer for you?
Well,
I missed that.
basically, do you feel comfortable with the language in this document that the city is going to be able to direct its interests in this project as far as the plan will go?
Yes, sir. I have no problem with the document itself. I agree with you. We're one of the three parties there, and you know, we're the lesser of the evils here. Not the evil, the lesser of the group here. But I think we probably need someone who's a project manager, a project director, or something of that ascent, who has to be in with these meetings. And I don't know how we put that in this. I don't know if that's something that has to be done here, and we need to rewrite this. Outside of that, I really have no problem with it. It's just that management issue.
That's exactly what I was talking to. These decisions will be made by the county from the sounds of this document, and it's our city's project. It is going to have the biggest impact on our city, and I would like to have a little more input, or at least a person in the room helping make those decisions.
And it could be that they are already planning that. We just don't know about it. I mean, I would assume the proper planning is you get all people involved.
The terminology in here didn't lend me to believe that. It makes it sound like the county's going to make these decisions and the cities will be informed, was the way kind of read it. Do you get that feeling, Mr. Matthew?
This, I guess, there's a task order for the feasibility study, okay, what they're gonna do. I don't know if you've seen that. And this is nothing more than our 1/3 participation in this feasibility study, all right? Now, the county's gonna, you know, make any decisions if they come in and say, look, we need more money. You understand, the county gets to make those decisions. As far as what you're actually gonna do, this is nothing more than a study. You understand what I mean?
Right.
Whether you wanna study something else, I don't know if you've seen the Pasco County task order on it. I have it here. It's rather voluminous. I don't think it's part of this. And what's the first thing that's here? Oh yeah, there's the scope of services. Here it is. There's the task order. In other words, you're paying for 1/3 of this feasibility study going under the bridge, right? No more, no less. Now, they come back and say it's feasible or not feasible or this, or you feel like you want to do a feasibility study for something else, well then you really shouldn't agree to this. But this is nothing more than that. Do you understand what I mean? It's going to come back. They're going to come back and the study's going to say this is possible, this is what it would probably cost, things like that, and nothing more. You're not agreeing to anything more than that. Whether you want to do that or not, I don't know.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, I'm quite confident that we'll have enough input through Mr. Muse and our involvement, and of course with council's involvement. But essentially, this is a task order for a feasibility study to complete the long sought passage underneath the bridge. If we were to make substantive modifications, and Mr. Matthau will correct me if I'm wrong, but it will have to go back to both Newport Richey and to the county through their legal process to be modified and then brought back through each one of the chambers for eventual consensus agreement. But at this stage, since it's really a task order for a feasibility study, that you will be part of the final decision with respect to, I believe we can move forward.
I understand Mr. Rowe's concern because they don't want the county running roughshod over our project, which I understand that completely.
Make point here to what I found is page 5 of 14 under deliverables. it says the consultant shall walk, to the extent possible, the preliminary trail route with the county staff and design team members to review the route and adjust the natural features. It leaves us out in the cold. That's why I'd like to have a man in the room. If this stops this from going forward, that's not my intent. It's just that I would like to have Mr. Muse in the room at least, and I don't know if there's any way we can request that without having to redo this whole document.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
my impression is, from a legal standpoint, as an attorney, the county's the big dog. And we've got two cities, Newport Richey and Port Richey, involved in this. The path is laid out, pretty much laid out. I think if you attempt to play hardball with the county, you risk losing this project. You can try, and you can say, we want more participation. We want more involvement. And they can say, well, take it or leave it. And that's how a lot of these things work. They say take it or leave it. Now, you can leave it, or we can take it as is. Now, what are you actually losing by letting them have the control over the two cities for this hike and bike trail? What are the possible ramifications of that? What is the negative impact that we have to consider before going to the county and saying, we're not happy with your interlocal agreement. We want more control. We want more involvement. What is it that you are thinking about that you could lose?
Well, let me just say this. I think that if we want to be involved more or less, it will be possible without question. But I appreciate Terry being a bulldog on it. We're not going to lose anything, and this is, I think the MPO is going to be funding this to the tune of $2.7 million. So if you took a third of that and we had to all pay it, would be a serious thing. If this is something that people want, and I think it is, then I think, Terry, if I'm on the MPO, so I can probably get involved, and I'm sure if, whatever you want me to do, I can push that forward.
It was not my intent to shoot this down.
No, I know.
This is basically exposure, so council knows, we're mentioned in this, but it will be the county show, and so that is not my intention to shoot this thing down.
Sure.
I just want visibility on this so we know where we are, where we stand, and I would feel more comfortable with somebody in the room with those other engineers, because they may not think like we think or have the same vision that the city has, but with that, I would not stop this, because this is one of those hurdles that you have to go through. As my associate mentioned here, it would be foolish to throw this out. We've got it this far.
If I might, Mayor, Vice Mayor, you worked on this for an awful long time as the mayor. Bill, Mr. Muse for a while also. I can assure you that I'll task Mr. Muse to be a Budinsky in this project, if you want to call it that. And I think you know him well enough to know that he can be a tiger with respect to his beliefs. So I think we can move forward confidently, especially given the additional advances that we're talking about. I know your will, and I know your desire with respect to this, and it comes straight from your heart, and I agree with you.
Just looking out for the city.
Absolutely.
That's my intent.
May I
Yes,
say
sir.
something? Mayor, if we
Ms.
could look
Matthews
into
first.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, page 9 of 14 of the scope of services talks about when they're gonna meet with us. Okay, so meetings with county MPOs, stakeholders, and other agencies. We're a stakeholder. The project kickoff meeting, they're gonna meet with the city of Newport Richey, city of Port Richey, with the consultant, who you wanna say, FDOT, et cetera. Then 3.5.1.2, the second alternative review meeting. These are the meetings. That's the input they're seeking on that page, Councilman.
So,
Not that I'm selling it one way or the other,
Right.
but that's how that's,
I did
whether
have
that
that.
happens or whatever.
I had that highlighted, yes, I'd seen that as well.
so, and Bill.
So that's what they're expecting, at least gonna dictate or whatever you wanna call it.
Bill, are they pretty receptive to you? I think they reach out to you occasionally, don't they?
They do, and may I try to explain this from an architectural standpoint? This to me is the contract where we're being hired, the architect is being hired to do it. We could then determine a personnel management plan. And I'm sure they've looked at it, Terry. I don't know, I can ask them tomorrow and find out where we do with it. So, but I don't personally don't have an issue with this, other than I agree with Mr. Rowe that we need involvement.
I don't want to, I mean, I didn't get to the point where they have to have a leader in this thing, otherwise we have
Chaos.
3 chefs in the mix here, and that's gonna make a mess of things, but I just.
You can go to the county and ask for that input, but this is, they may look at this as a contract of adhesion that's basically say, hey, you take it or leave it.
Right.
And if they bail, I guess there's no hike and bike trip.
Well, you have to
So,
remember.
I mean, you can give it a shot at it.
It was
I don't
more,
think so.
this is more of just
Just
to make
philosophically.
council aware of where we're at in this document. Not that I, like I said before.
And this is just a feasibility.
Right.
Now, when they say yes, then we'll probably want to have a little more.
We have a motion and we have a second already, don't
We
we?
do, we do.
correct.
But the one thing I wanted to ask Bill, we've always talked about having it wide enough for 2 golf carts. And we've always hoped. Is there no room, is the question.
In the agreement, it mentioned something about the width, and it's more than adequate.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Anyone in the public want to speak to this? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Which moves us right along to Orange Grove Avenue.
Unfortunately,
Something dear to our heart.
Ms. Smith is not here, but Mr. Brown is, and I'm absolutely certain he can pass the good news down to the good people of Candlelight if they're not watching on TV. Interlocal agreement with Pasco County for Orange Grove Avenue and Arredo Drive. As the City Council will recall, the city has been in discussion with Pasco County over the paving of Orange Grove due to its deteriorated condition. The city owns a vacant parcel of land on Arredo Drive that the county wishes to acquire for the expansion of its bus maintenance facility. Pasco County has proposed an interlocal agreement with the city that will provide the resurfacing and milling of Orange Grove Avenue in exchange for the conveyance of Arredo Drive property to Pasco County. The city will assume the ongoing maintenance responsibilities of Orange Grove Avenue. Action requested the approval of the interlocal agreement with Pasco County for Orange Grove Avenue and Arredo Drive so that they can finally begin to do the Orange Grove Drive.
And I'll say thank you, Mr. Rowe, thank you, Mr. Lupo. I also took it on myself. I don't know how you drove that road that long. I might have hosed down McDonald's, I don't know.
I'd like to say one other thing to council. This final agreement, prior to this agreement, involved quite a bit of negotiations by your staff with the county, with the various agencies in the county, and I'm sure Mr. Rowe is well aware of that, to finally come up with a workable arrangement that benefits both the county and us. Jim, do you have?
Yeah, I just have one comment, just so everybody understands, this is definitely we didn't have any input on this, and I don't have any problems with it. We're giving them the parcel of land. They're gonna mill and resurface Orange Grove Avenue, which is a big deal, okay, it's a big expense, but we're gonna be responsible for the maintenance after that, okay? I presume the maintenance won't come for 10 or 20 years or whatever, but that's the deal, okay, just so you know, that's our responsibility.
that road has to be done. It
No,
just has
I'm
to
just
be
telling you
done.
that's
I know, I
the only
understand.
thing legal, and it came this way, they voted on it before we even saw it. I'm fine with it, as long as council knows that's the deal.
Motion and a second.
Motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Pasco County for Orange Grove Avenue and Arito Drive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Which moves us on to the Waterfront Overlay District, which I requested. We have so many discrepancies down there that it's almost embarrassing and at no one's responsibility. But this thing needs to be, I, of all people, would like to see a workshop. And I think Ms. Pfeiffer would like to talk.
My name is Beth Pfeiffer, for those of you who I have not met, and I represent the Colaquitas family, who own a majority of the waterfront undeveloped property down there. One of those being Port Richey Marina, which is located between Catch's Waterfront Grill and Whiskey Joe's, the new Whiskey Joe's. In light of the city's vision and the public's vision for further waterfront development, we would like to take that marina at this time and remodel it and revise it and open it up for public use. We've owned the marina since 1998, and we bought it from a man by the name of William Sackleson. Some of you might still remember him. And we used that marina for several years as a working marina. Then we stopped using it so we could utilize that for some of our other businesses' boats. And things have changed now, and the property is kind of sitting stagnant, and we would like to step it up and open up a full-service marina. With that being said, the building department and some of the city officials have brought it to my attention that they believe that there's some issues with the WOD that would prevent us from doing what we need to do. In order to utilize a full-service marina, we're going to have dry storage, and we're also going to have a fuel dock. And if we can't accomplish that, there's really no reason for us to move forward with any development on that marina at all. And therefore, it will still be sitting there between a beautiful Whiskey Joe's and a beautiful Catches, just being stagnant. There's a lot of development, everybody knows, out east with Trinity area and on past that. It's, you know, high-income communities. It's communities with people with boats, people looking to recreate in Pasco County. We happen to be the gateway to the Gulf of Mexico. The city's been working on the idea of the hike and bike trail, which is very nice, and they've been working on the idea of the boat ramp and revitalizing that. And I think a marina would really bring a lot of traffic to our waterfront. And with that being said, the WOD. The WOD was written in 2002. It is old, it's outdated. A lot, as the mayor pointed out.
Let's go ahead.
As the mayor pointed out, a lot of the restrictions, there are several items that are restricted in the WOD that are currently going on in our waterfront, okay? I don't know if these people were granted variances. I don't know if it's been, you know, an oversight. I don't know what it is. But I'm not here to tell you that the things that are going on the waterfront are bad things. They're good things. Good things are going on. Everything that's happening down there, slowly but surely, we're accomplishing what, when I came here in 1995, the city wanted to do is make that waterfront something, okay? And we're getting there. So rather than talk about the issues that are going on right now that are violations of the WOD, we need to move forward with the WOD, for a lack of a better phrase, you know, catch up with the times. You know, we're not a lazy waterfront fishing village anymore. You know, when I came here, that's kind of the tone of it. And then those casino people came in and they changed it up a little bit. And then, you know, more growth come and more growth come. And, you know, it's exciting stuff. And we had a complaint back here, which I kind of have to agree with the guy. You know, anything anybody wants to do, you know, you've got paid city officials that have to follow this rule book here and say, you know, well, it's in the WOD, you can't do it. Well, you know, it's time. It's time to make a change down there. You know, we are a commercial recreational waterfront destination, and destination is where we've been headed for years. And I think with that being said, Mr. Massad's idea of a workshop and working on tidying up the WOD would be good. But I'm here before you tonight respectfully requesting a variance on those two very important items that we need to get started, okay? And they again are dry storage and a fueling dock, okay?
Well,
I would like the consideration.
Oh, 1 second. I am not certain that there's anything in this language, I'd have to obviously defer to Jim, that says no marina, because we have a marina. It's there. Now, fueling-wise, Mr. Muse tells me that there's much better ways of fueling than the general marina. We all go and we fill up and it overflows into the water. And there's baffle systems, et cetera, that make fueling much cleaner. So I'm not sure that she needs a variance. That'd be up to Jim and this council.
If I might, Mayor?
Please.
Beth, if you will recall back in 2002, when I was here at that time, you recall?
I was too.
We had many public meetings. We had involvement from many of the different committees that we had, public hearings, in order to craft the WOD. It is almost 20 years old. Times changed. Thoughts that we had and we had hoped for just did not mature because time changes. So you're probably 100% correct, and the mayor is, and it's time to take another look at the WOD in total by taking a look at the entire project and to try and make significant changes. The changes with Gill Dogs, the changes brought by Whiskey Joe's, the changes brought even by Catches and Whiskey River across the river. They're all changes. Parking issues. You're deeply involved in, I can't count on both hands how many times you aided the city with respect to parking issues. So that, as a request, to go to public hearings is certainly, or workshops is certainly well within the purview of council. And I had the good fortune to meeting with you and Mr. Kolokitis and Mark to talk about this initially. And I had indicated to you that there are certain issues that have to be resolved, and they would, if we brought to council, council is the legislative body that can make those changes. And that's exactly what you're doing. So from that perspective, you're certainly at the right location with respect to your request. How it's brought forward to council, what council decides, what the legalities are council's and the city attorney's decision. But aside from that specifically, I think the timing is absolutely right to begin to consider a workshop on the WOD, to bring in the major players in the WOD, the names that I spoke about, the places that I spoke about, along with the citizens, because it's a commercial section that's important to the community as an entirety. So from that, we're also going to have workshops in February on the commercial standards. So we as an administration, and I know this council, is open for workshops to make changes.
Okay, now add a few little other thoughts. Jim and I started with this WOD, and what are we gonna have? All bars. All bars. I think we've got enough. What is that place you always talk about? Out in Tampa, by Tampa. You got, okay. Anyway, I don't know if the public wants that or not, or doesn't want that, but really we have enough bars, I think. Enough for you?
I have to totally agree with that.
Okay. The other thing, I just want these things to be considered when we get to the workshop. Signage, you can drive right by that thing and you've got 5 restaurants and a couple extra bars and fishing, snorkeling, everything. Nobody knows it's there. If you don't know it's there, there's nothing on that street to tell you it's there. And I think that really needs to be a part of this workshop. We have 20.2 acres, Bill, I think something like that, and Mr. Kolokidis owns 20.1. But unless somebody has a land stretcher, we need to go vertical. And I just don't think there's a way around that. If you want to make it a destination, we need to go vertical, we need a hotel, and that's all I'll bother you with.
May I say something? I would like to go back to what Beth had just saying. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Beth and I talked about this, or we all have talked about this, and as far as getting a variant. And the problem is, we found out today we can't really do that. This is not a variance issue. This is an ordinance, and we can't modify an ordinance. We have to go via a workshop with an amendment. So we're going to be coerced into this anyway if we allow this to continue if Beth wants the variance.
You're right.
So I think the time has come. I think we need to reassess this. It's been 20 years. You know, we don't drive 1980 cars any longer. So it's just time to look at this and see if we can do something else with it. I'm certainly receptive to what they're attempting to do.
And of course, for the public, it won't be a 3-sided 10 marina.
Absolutely not.
It'll, and which brings me to one more thing for the council, your consideration. We say the old Florida look, that's what we're supposed to have. But we don't have anything that guides people, which I'm gonna ask Bill to do, with your approval. What is old Florida? Some people, I don't know. Yeah. So we should have something that guides businesses to how we would like the outside to look. And
I think the marina is a great idea. I think it's a perfect use of that land space down there. I think it's a great idea. And there's been so many advances, Bill and I talked about with the fueling, these California compliant. If anybody's ever pumped gas in California now, the pump actually seals over the intake. So the issues that they were concerned about 20 years ago are really not a problem these days. So I think even if it requires an ordinance or something, it's definitely the direction that this city wants to go in, and I think we need to take a closer look at the whole project.
Yes, this is one ordinance, I think.
So you can amend the WOD. We've done it once before.
Yeah.
Okay, when you change anything.
It can be amended.
So, Mr. Mayor, so with that and the hour, I'm going to make a motion that we develop a workshop for the purpose of reviewing the current waterfront overlay district and making the appropriate amendments as council seems fit, as well as having the public input.
And
how about after the second workshop that we have to have for the, we have a workshop at the next meeting, right?
Yes, we do, on February 12th. February 12th for the workshop for commercial standards.
Can we follow that on the next meeting with the other?
I think this is gonna take a while.
First, I'll make that a second so we can have this discussion.
Okay. I always bust you guys. We want a time specific for these workshops, so they keep getting kicked.
No.
I think that's
You
going
want
to.
to do it right after?
I think we
Right
need to.
after, let's keep it moving. I mean, we got a lot of stuff on the plate, but I think it's a good idea, and I think the marina's a great idea. And let's keep the momentum on it and see if we can get it going.
Fine.
And if we need more time, we can always.
Yes,
have
that's right.
Another workshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. The motion includes
Workshop.
adding the workshop to February 12th.
No, to
No,
the following meeting after
The following meeting is the 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
so,
think it'd be too much to try to do that all before.
Well, I do, I think so.
okay, I agree. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the motion I have, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
And I have the
We
second.
got a second.
you have a second.
And would the public like to speak to that? Oh, don't get in our way, but come on up.
Before I have a seat, can I say that we're very anxious to move forward with this project as soon as possible. We would rather not wait until we have a complete restructure of the WOD. I'm requesting that maybe those two issues we work on pretty quickly.
I think that you can tell by the tone of this council
Yeah.
that
Oh, I
where
see
it's
you.
going.
Thank
So,
everybody. I
yes,
appreciate that
I
very
think we
much.
could take those at the first of that.
And one other thing is, we're not asking to build a marina. We have a marina. I've been paying a business tax since 1998 to the city of Port Richey that says marina. I want to revitalize, remodel, and regenerate the existing marina that we have. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Spaulding.
Sandra Spalding, 8612 Green Street. I was on one of those committees with the overlay. And what I'd like to say is the Colakitases have been very good with our city. I don't know how many of you were around when they first started, but Molly and her husband were excellent. They have always gone along with whatever it was that they were asked to do. And if it means changing an ordinance at this point so they don't have to wait so long, think about doing that. They were there for us when we needed them, and we should be there for them now. I'm going to leave you with that.
And I thank you, and I agree. Mr. Blaine. Lee?
Blaine Lee, 5713 Berlin. As everybody has said, this ordinance is 20 years old. I think it's outdated, and I think the easiest solution would be just to dissolve the ordinance. I don't think we need it anymore. I've read it. It's not needed.
That could come up in the
But
workshop.
I do think, I want to say one thing,
Right.
that I think that the parking lot that Whiskey Joe put in, the auxiliary parking lot, is a disgrace.
Well, we're mowing.
It looks like a mud hole. It may, they put sod down, and they put a plastic mesh over the top of it, and then they drove cars on it, and it's nothing but potholes and mud holes now, and it's a disgrace.
And I think that particular material was driven on too early.
Correct.
Is that correct? Yeah. I don't think that was it. Matt?
Matthew Todd, 5113 Mallet, 8301 Congress. I think we ought to thank these people for wanting to invest in this city, because when they're building these properties, you're looking at taxes, you're looking at a better group of people, and they're investing in this city and making our property values better. We need a world-class marina. And I'll be honest with you, I think you ought to throw the red carpet out under these people's feet and thank them for even considering it and doing it. I want to thank the lady for them wanting to do it in our city. We need this marina. Thank you.
And I want to caution everyone, though, that we can't go into this flippantly.
Piecemeal.
Yeah, because that portion of the river is very narrow. And we're gonna go forward, and I know we will, but I want everyone to think about how to keep the boat traffic safe and And we need to have some design by Bill on marinas, et cetera, down there. We need to think about the signage. We have to, there's no sense in having 20 acres of waterfront if no one knows it's there. So that, it was gonna carry me into one other, did we already vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good on that.
Yeah, I think we have a first and a second.
We didn't
No
vote.
vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The other thing I think I just forgot, but
Okay.
you're probably ready to go. And I want to bring you guys, I just want you to keep thinking. Thinking down there is, you can get sidetracked, but in the end, I wouldn't mind, unless you have a landscape stretcher, as I said, we have to go vertical. We have got to go vertical. And please, anybody that you know that might do hotels, we have a beautiful place for a boutique 60, 70 bed hotel. I won't disclose at this point. Okay, any other?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. We're out.
Second.